In this video, we will provide a general overview of the risk management process. In particular, we'll cover the stages of this process and what they entail. All the stages we present are the same for organizations and individuals. Throughout the course, we will take a detailed look at each stage. Now, let's get started. How would you define risk management? From a practical perspective, security is management, risk management, and it is a process, a continuous, persistent risk management process. Security is not a one-time effort or activity. It is not just a set of tools and is never completed with a training session. Risk management is basically a systematic, cyclical process where we have problem, solution, and repeat. The risk management process can be divided into 5 stages. The first, identify and prioritize the main risks or problems. Second, decide how to deal with them. Third, implement these decisions. 4, make sure their implementation worked. And finally, repeat the risk management cycle. Why is risk management important? Risk management is the only way to effectively achieve our mission by utilizing resources that address our security risks and problems. Before we start to act, we need to know exactly what we are acting on. Risk management helps us to assess our situation, focus on the problems we really have, and avoid spending resources on the problems that we don't need to prioritize. Depending on the organization structure, risk management is generally the responsibility of management, and it should not be solely delegated to IT personnel, any other staff members, or external consultants. That said, management must make this process collaborative and integrate the views, expertise, and experiences of their staff. This will ensure a more faithful picture of the context. In the absence of an organizational structure, the duty of the risk management falls on the individual. Ideally, the risk management process should be integrated into the organization's broader processes and overall management systems. We will discover together in this course how to do this. Let's now briefly go through the stages and steps of the risk management process. We will look at each of them in more detail later in this module and in the next module. As we go through each of the stages, you can start thinking about how you could apply what you learned in your own context, or reflect on your own approach to risk management now or in the past, and what would you do differently. The first stage is about identifying and prioritizing the main risks or problems. How do we do it? We need to answer 3 main questions. 1. What to protect? To begin with, it's important to list all the elements you intend to safeguard, which we categorize as assets. These assets might include individuals, data, systems, processes, etc. Safeguarding something is only feasible when we can precisely identify it. Listing all-encompassing notions like everything ultimately translate into safeguarding nothing. Remember, we can only secure what we can explicitly name and define. 2. Protection from what and from whom? After having listed our assets, we should explore what bad events could happen to each of them. This is called threat modeling. Threat modeling means creating a list of unwanted events in a who can do what to our assets format. 3. How likely is the threat to happen and what would be the impact? After we have identified the unwanted events or threats, we evaluate their probability and impact. Now we can rank the unwanted events in a descending order. These are our risks, ranked from the highest to the lowest. For each of these questions, we will describe some simple tools we can use to facilitate the process. For example, to evaluate the probability and impact, we can use what we call a risk matrix. To understand what and whom to protect our assets from, we will do a threat modeling. And to identify the assets, we create the list of assets. The second stage is about deciding how to deal with each of the risks and problems. This stage is about risk treatment and possibly coming up with security measures. So, we have ranked our risks or problems. Now, what to do with them? We have to discuss and make decisions about each of them. We can either avoid or reduce or mitigate, share or transfer, or accept the risk. We will go into more detail later about the decision making. If we decide to reduce, mitigate the risks, then we develop security measures for this risk. The third stage in the risk management process is the implementation of the decisions that we've made in the second stage. We need an implementation plan. Once we have developed our security measures, we create a plan on how to actually implement them. And we use an actionable format to do so. Who does what, when, and with what resources. Then we need to think about the implementation period. So we have the plan. Now we have to actually implement it. It usually takes 6 to 8 months to do so, but this is very much depending on the context. It's during the actual implementation that we may realize that there are problems. Either the plan was not actionable or too complicated, or the resources were overestimated, or perhaps the plan just did not happen. Later we will explore how to make the plan happen, or at least how to increase the chances of successful implementation. The fourth stage is about monitoring, evaluation, and improvement of the risk management process. How do we know if the implementation is actually happening? The monitoring and evaluation process helps us here. Someone has to check whether the implementation is happening, or if not, why is it not happening and how can we fix it? If we can't organize the implementation of security measures, we might not be able to organize the monitoring and evaluation and improving the process either. The final stage of the risk management process is repeat. What's next? We need to repeat, update, and improve our risk management process based on the context and new developments. Everything is in flux here. Our organization is changing, the context in which we're working is changing, and we may find that the risks or problems that we identified the year before might not be valid anymore. The only way to keep an organization or an individual secure at an acceptable level is to have a continuous systematic risk management cycle. It's important to establish a suitable time frame for regularly revisiting and updating the risk management process. This time frame should align with the context in which you or your organization are operating and should be flexible enough to adapt to any unwanted events or circumstances if they arise. Everything needs to be repeated the same way from the very beginning, every 12 months and immediately after a security context changes. For example, a new legislation is proposed or adopted, or we notice new repressive practices, new incidents occur, or we started to work in a new area with a different context, and so on. These are, in brief, the main stages of the risk management process. We are now going to explore each of these stages in more detail to better understand the problem, solution, repeat approach. As we go through these stages, you will be given a chance to apply the knowledge you've gained through a specific example, which we will provide. Please make sure to download the template provided in the material section of this module, as this will help you through the process. Feel free to use the template to apply what you learn to your own context, as well as when conducting your own risk management. Stay safe.